All right, everybody, we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you for coming today for our presentation. We're going to be talking about interactive guided forms in SharePoint. And with that, let's begin. Before we get into our main presentation, I'm just going to do some quick intros just to tell you a little bit about myself and our tools. My name is Will Cooper. I am a SharePoint solutions developer, and I do a lot of things around SharePoint. In addition to doing SharePoint consulting, I run a YouTube channel called SharePoint Smart. You can find that easily by just searching for that on YouTube. And then I also run a SharePoint platform called SharePoint Dashboards. This is a companion tool. This is something you can use in addition to Ultimate Forms, which is what we're getting ready to look at. I am going to do some additional content after our main presentation to tell you more about that if you want to stay on after our presentation about guided forms. Infowise is our organization that provides the Ultimate Forms platform. Our philosophy is to make things simple and easy, and also to improve. We're always looking for ways to make our tools work better and make your life easier. Ultimate Forms is a comprehensive toolkit that can be added to SharePoint, and it can be used whether you're using on-premise SharePoint or SharePoint Online, otherwise known as Microsoft 365. Everything you do to use these tools is completely inside of the SharePoint user interface, and you do not have to be a developer. In fact, you don't have to do any code at all. Towards the end of the main presentation, we're going to do a drawing for a free embroidered polo shirt with the Infowise logo on it. They're very cool. So I hope you stay around for that. And you do need to be in the US to be eligible for that drawing for mailing reasons. And with that, we can get started. Just some ground rules. Although you're on mute, we do want to interact with you and answer your questions. So the way that you can converse with us is to use the questions interface in the GoToWebinar panel. Please be patient. If you don't get a response right away, we will circle back to you before the end of the presentation. And with that, let's go ahead and begin. As I mentioned, Ultimate Forms is available both for SharePoint Online and on-premise, and in fact, you can try it for free. We'll talk about that later in the presentation. So, out of the box, SharePoint is a bit limited. There are a lot of possibilities, but it doesn't provide all the functionality and tools to let you build out full solutions. So that's a bit of a hassle and a headache, and that leads to frustration and lost time and those type of things. Ultimate Forms really adds those missing capabilities and additional functionality that you really want in order to be able to set up solutions for your organization. So this really, fills that need for you. I know this because I've worked with many different organizations to help them to create custom solutions for their businesses, and you can do that as well for your own organization. All right, so let's talk more specifically about guided forms, and I'll begin. You may be wondering what I'm referring to when I say guided forms. That's going to become very clear very quickly. So a guided form is basically a streamlined, simplified form experience to make it easy on the user, and it's a guided experience where we're trying to make it as simple and as easy as possible. This is especially useful on a public website, and the example we're going to look at is for a contact form. Now, you may be wondering, what does a public website have to do with SharePoint? One great feature with Ultimate Forms, you in fact have the ability to publish a SharePoint form, have it appear in a public website, which is extremely useful. So I'll show you how that works during our presentation. And we have situations, especially when we're trying to capture new customers or new contacts, where users are lazy. I'm guilty of this as well. We really want to move fast. We don't want to wait. And we certainly aren't interested in completing a long list of information, which is sometimes what you see in a contact form. So we want things to be just really simple, and then I'm going to be more likely to respond. So our users have a short attention span, so we just need to engage them, with a simple process. This is going to be useful for high traffic forms, ones where you're getting a lot of people seeing it, and therefore it needs more polish. So this is different from, an HR form or something like that, where I've got to fill that out whether I really like it or not. This is something where we really have to do everything in our power to get the best response rate we can from users, because lots of people use this form and see it. So this form is going to be about increasing response rate, avoiding confusion, making it as simple and easy as possible to understand. And then we want it to be friendly. So this is why we need a guided form, because traditional forms, if you think that going back all the way to the 90s, have some problems in regard to these key characteristics. Okay, so here's an example so you can actually begin to get a snapshot and picture what I'm talking about. And in fact, my idea for this presentation goes back to an experience I had with our DMV, Department of Motor Vehicles for the state. Millions of people use this form. So this is a form they have, and it's for vehicle registration renewal. And they did a really fantastic job with it. So it's inspired. Not what I would expect. We're used to government, bureaucracy, those type of things. But you can see the pattern of it. Basically, it's conversing with me. It's asking me simple questions. It's providing simple buttons with confirmations to walk me through the process of doing a renewal. Again, something that literally has to happen millions of times for these different users. So there's clearly a very important opportunity to build some efficiency to help that organization avoid phone calls and hassles, headaches, that kind of thing. So this is the concept that we're shooting for. Notice that we have buttons. We have a dialogue going, so it's conversational, and it's simplified. Basically, I'm dealing with one piece of information at a time. So this is kind of our target, if you will. So here's our goals for our guided form. We want it simple, streamlined, one question at a time. We want to draw the user in with an easy question. I don't want to start by asking them something that's difficult or takes them a long time to explain. You'll see that in my form. You just start out with simple things like, what's your name? What's your email? Just really simple things they can answer in a couple seconds. We want it to be conversational, and we want to use simple buttons. Obviously, what's the easiest thing I can do is just click a button. And then we do also want to provide the opportunity, depending on the response, we want to be able to have a dynamic form where we can have branching logic. So I'll show you what I mean by that. Then last thing we want to do is show them a progress bar. Help them see that they're making progress to getting what they want. What do they want? They want help, or they want a response from the form. So we want to put that in there to help them see that they're doing what they're supposed to do. Okay, so the first thing you should do to plan this style of form is you need to make a plan. So this is a process diagram. And so if you have a candidate form, in our case, it's a contact form, what you should do is map that out. So you need to plan this so that you're prepared when it comes times to get it into the tool to set it up. Okay, so let me just go to our first step. Okay, so first thing I'm going to show you is free. This is a site called diagrams.net, and you don't have to even do a sign up or anything. This is the tool that I'm using to do my planning for the process diagram. So it's a drag and drop style interface. I can just move things around and draw arrows. Now, you can use any kind of diagram software that you want. This is just one I wanted to mention because I like it. It's free, it's easy. You can, output those to an image or PDF, that type of thing. And that's what I liked to use to draw process diagrams, because it's just very easy to work with. You don't really have to learn much. You can just start dragging controls out on the form, adjust the colors, put in text, just really simple to deal with. So this isn't in SharePoint. This is all just about the planning process. So let's talk through what I drew out. Like I say, this is a contact form. And so this is a series of questions that I want to ask someone so that I can give them support. So you can see what they are. I'm just saying, all right, I need your full name, what's your email, etc. So I go down the form, and then, like I say, I do have some branching logic here. And in particular, in this example form, I'm interested to know if they're a current customer or not. Their prospective customer, that's a little different, what I need to get from them. So I have different questions depending on how that's answered. And I want this to handle both sides of the process. They don't necessarily know about this. I'm just going to present different logic. So you can set up any kind of form you want like this, but this is the concept we're shooting for. So you just kind of type this out, make sure you have a good handle and you feel confident that you have made a list of all the questions that you need to ask for your form and map it out. And this is going to make things nice and clean and easy to understand when you get into the form builder, which we'll come to in a moment. All right, so let's start by seeing what this looks like from a user perspective. So I'm going to go out to a public website, and I'm just going to take you for a user perspective to show you. Now, this is just an example. I don't necessarily need this for my site, but I can use that. So notice I don't see a contact form. This is just a little button that I could put on any page on my website, or all of them. I could just put it in the footer. It just says, hey, you want help? And that's simple, right? Yeah, I need some help. And it just starts asking me simple questions. Notice the progress bar is filling up at the top. And hopefully you will see that I'm doing very simple things as the user. I just type my name and I have a nice green button that says next. There's really no way I could be confused about that. It says, okay, thank you. What's your email address? And then I just put in my email address. And I can just tab through the form and keep hitting next. So I'm just having a nice, simple conversation with the customer, asking simple questions, and they're not feeling overwhelmed. And they're probably not likely to give up or bail out on this because I have not asked them to do anything hard at all. And as they do it, they can see a nice, happy green bar going from left to right across the page. Okay, and then I say, oh, how should we contact you? Now I have the buttons. I mentioned buttons are the easiest concept, the easiest thing for somebody to answer. So they just click a button, say, I want somebody to call me. And then I just keep hitting next, and I see my bar keep filling up. Okay, so I'm going to say, no, I'm not a current customer, and that's where the branching logic comes in. And then because I answered that, it's presenting questions that are for a non-customer. It says, oh, okay, how did you hear about us? And I just have some buttons I can click on. So I don't even have, like a drop down or anything. It's just really simple. Well, which of these was it? Well, a friend told me about it. So I just click the button and I just keep hitting next. And then it's saying, oh, where are you located? Because maybe this is important to know, which person should call him back, that type of thing. So just type that in. And notice the buttons only appear when I've answered the question. So there's some validation here, and that's making sure that we actually get the information before they proceed. Okay, so then what can we help you with? I'm going to say services, next. And then I saved the really hard question for last. What's the really hard question? Basically, please describe in detail what it is you need. I need some help with pricing on your products. Please give me a call. It's the very last step, right? I'm not going to bail out now. It's the very last thing to do. Okay, so then I hit submit. And then I have a nice thank you message that automatically appears. Notice it's dynamic. It automatically put the information from the form. Thanks, Will Cooper, for contacting us. We will review your requests, etc. So I can put dynamic information. So surprisingly, unlike anything you've probably seen before, this all originated and is controlled from SharePoint. All right, so I'm going to show you that side of things now. Okay, so here is my list, my request list, and there is the contact that came in just a few seconds ago. Now, this form, I can see it from SharePoint as well. Notice if I click New, you're going to see the same form in SharePoint. It's just the same thing. I have that embedded in the public site as well. I'm going to tell you more about how that happens in a little bit. But I just want to prove to you that it's the very same form that it did originate from SharePoint. So all those questions get answered. Now, once that contact is submitted, of course, at that point, we need to respond, right? So we have that in the organization. Notice I have a completely different view of the information. So all that one-by-one question stuff, that's gone. And now it actually did populate what you think of as more of a regular contact form. So all those questions I put in, they're all in here. And this is so somebody in my organization can respond. So I can assign it to somebody. I'll assign it to myself. And then, I can put some notes. Calling now about pricing. Okay, and then I have got some basic statuses and things like that. So I can manage it like a regular request ticket at that point. And of course, the customer doesn't see any of that, but I can manage this, work it through the queue, change the status, and then, of course, ultimately, when it does get done, I can go ahead and update the status to complete. And what I could also do is, I can tie some email notifications to it. I could have that automatically confirm back to the customer and do that sort of thing. All right, so now let's get to the interesting part. I'm going to show you how to build something like this, how you're able to build that with our tools. So we have a form designer tool that's really awesome to use, and I'm going to show you that this can all be set up without having to do any programming. So here's the form designer, and you're going to see all of the content, including what I just showed you where I'm managing the ticket, and then here's all the questions. So unlike when the user was filling it out, I see all of it in my designer tool, and that's how I map out the process. So how is it showing just one question at a time? I'm going to demonstrate that to you right now. I have a field that I created in my SharePoint list, which is called step. This is a step-by-step process. And so each of these questions are a step. So I'm going to have step 1, step 2. So it's a variable, a counter, if you will, that's helping me keep track of that. So the very first thing, of course, that I show them at the beginning is this get help button. And we have these button controls, which you can, drag out onto the form and use to perform these updates to the form to control the logic. Get help does something very simple. It's an action button, and I simply told it to update that field called step to a value of 1, starts with the value of 0. And that's where things can show and hide according to that. The progress bar, we don't want that to appear until they begin. So I put a rule in here, and it just says, I want this to appear if the step is more than 0 and less than 10. The second condition is because I don't need to see it on the thank you form. Basically, we're done. So that helps that be hidden initially and then appear. And then from that point forward, these question boxes, these are editable fragments, where you can type in your own text. So all I did is just type in the question. What's your full name? I'm doing this in a conversational tone, and then I have rules. So I have permissions rules that are controlling when that appears. So it says that I want this to be read if step is 1. Very easy concept to understand. And there's the questions related to that. So likewise, it says, I want this writable if step is 1. It means that it will only appear when that's the case. And so after I answer this question about what's your full name, naturally, When I click that button, I want it to change the value in step to 2. We're moving on to question 2. So it just changes to 2. The second that next button is clicked, this section disappears, and then the next section appears. So hopefully you should be able to guess what you're going to see when I click on email address, read if step 2. So I just keep adding these rules as I go along, and I just can copy and drag these form elements. Now that is one really nice thing. Of course, we have a lot of very similar buttons and controls in here. And one thing that really speeds up the process for me is that as I'm building this, I can just hit this copy button and I can duplicate it, right? Because I want to have the same type of styling. I know I'm going to have another read rule, and rather than have to kind of do that all again from scratch, I can just go in here and I can put another question. And there it is. So what you see is what you get. You're going to see what you're doing in real time in the interface. I'm going to trash can that because I don't need it. But basically, I just walked down through my logic, and since I already had that all planned out, I didn't have to try and remember what I'm doing or try to figure that out on the fly. Basically, kind of already made my plan for what I want to happen, and then I set this up afterwards. I should mention, after the presentation later today, we're going to make this exact solution available to you as a template. You can download it for free, and you can actually interact with this and try out the solution yourself, just to see what it does and see how you can work with it. Okay, so basically I kept walking down the form, and then what you might be interested in is the branching logic, and I'll explain how that's set up. It's really not that complicated. So we got to the point where it branches, right? We said, are you current customer? And depending on whether they are, we're going to ask different questions. So I have this field in here, says, are you a current customer? And there's the customer field. I basically need to watch for the value of that. So in the next section, you're going to see call it a compound condition, and where I say, okay, well, this is step 6 if you're a customer. So instead of just saying, oh, for step 6, I say, okay, this is step 6 in customers, yes. And then you'll see if I go farther down the form, I've got my questions for when you're not a customer. So notice this one says step 7 and not a customer. So I didn't have to do any programming. I just do these configurations and just enter my value, and it'll follow those rules. So you kind of get some momentum as you're working along through this. It's really easy. You can just publish your form and check and publish your steps out like that. And then when you're done, of course, you want to have a thank you page. That's actually built into Form Designer. So I have this section called thank you page, and I can just put a container on that. I can style it however I want. Styles are easy to configure. I can, set whatever background color, and like I say, what you see is what you get. But then I can also enter dynamic information. Remember that it had my name in there, so it said thanks, and then I referenced the field. So it's really handy to be able to do that. Okay, let's talk about the public forms aspect of this, because that's very interesting, very impactful, that you, with these tools, have the ability to put a form into your public website and get, get requests from customers, that aren't part of your organization. This is really valuable, and you can use it in a lot of different scenarios. So the way that's configured in our software, you just click on external form, and then what you say is click allow access for anonymous. It doesn't mean they can get into SharePoint. Don't worry about that. It just means that this form can be embedded or exposed on a public website. So once you do that, it gives you a URL, which you can copy, and then you can put in some configuration data, and then all you have to do is take this little snippet here, and you can paste it into the website, and then it'll automatically load your form for you. Another thing I wanted to mention that's really great, this also includes a CAPTCHA. And that's a fancy acronym. It basically is just meaning that it can detect whether it's a bot, right? Nobody wants to get spam submissions, and this helps to detect that. So that's through Google, and that's you register for a key, and that is something you can have on that form page to help those not get those spam submissions, that type of thing. So that's kind of a nice, cool additional benefit. So this is just a different form concept that's allowing you an effective way to make things really streamlined and smooth and easy for your customers, and especially appropriate in a situation where you're needing to deal with somebody who maybe isn't real motivated to give you lots of information, but you really want the response, you really want to interact with them, and you're trying to make things as easy and as polished as possible. So as far as getting the tools, what I really want to emphasize to you, the most important thing you could do is to try it. Everything I've shown you, you can download our software and try it free for 30 days. To do that, just go to the InfowiseSolutions.com site and just click on Try Now for free. And it's our full software. The only limitation is it will time out after 30 days. You can just click on install, walk through those steps, and you can get it installed in the environment. And once you've done that, you can actually go up here later today. Like I say, I'll have this uploaded. You can go to our solution catalog and then click on Infowise webinars. In fact, all of our webinars, we upload the template to our tool, and you can just download it and install it to your own SharePoint site to play around with it and try it for yourself, see how it works, and it'll help you better understand how you can apply it to your own situation. We'll also, of course, upload this video so you can replay this, rewatch this, if you want to review anything about what I'm describing in terms of your solution. So that's the main concept as far as guided forms. So hopefully you'll agree this is a very different approach, a more user-friendly approach to collect information, and really helpful in situations where it's a heavily used form, where you're getting a lot of input or working with people outside your organization, especially for public websites. So with that being said, let's do a drawing for sure, and then I'm going to answer some questions. So the drawing is basically pick a number from 1 to 100, and I'm going to give you guys about 20 seconds, and then I'm going to pick a winner. Just a reminder, this is only for people in the U.S. That you can win this prize. Give you about 10 more seconds. I'm going to pick a winner, and then we can move on to some of the questions. All right, I've got a winner, Rebecca Nellis. Congratulations, you've won the shirt. You can get your shirt by sending me an email with your shirt size and mailing address, okay? So my email is willc@infowisesolutions.com. Congratulations. Okay, let's go to questions. All right, Duncan had a question about uploading documents. Absolutely, you can upload documents. There is, you can just use the attachments field. In fact, I'll show you an example of a Ultimate Forms customer that has an applicant tracking system that uses public forms, and I'll show you a perfect example of that. So this is a live public site, and this is a applicant tracking system built with Ultimate Forms. I'm going to show you what that looks like. So this is a scenario, of course, where people need to attach their resume, their cover letter, all that kind of stuff. So there's the attachments form. Just as in the case I just showed you, this is a form entirely inside of SharePoint surfaced to a public website. So people can drag and drop files onto the form, and when it saves, it will appear as an attachment in your SharePoint list. So certainly that could be very beneficial for you. All right, what other questions might you guys have about these type of forms? I see another question. Okay. Okay, do you need to do configuration setup to connect to external sites in SharePoint on-prem? I'm not sure about that. That's a little bit outside of the scope of this. What I was showing was an example for SharePoint Online specifically, but that's something we might be able to discuss outside the webinar. So you can send an email to us and we'll try to answer that offline. Can you query the collected data records? I'm not sure I understand the question exactly. This data appears in the SharePoint list. So these are SharePoint list fields. You can, of course, export that to Excel. You can do everything that you do in SharePoint with SharePoint list. So yes, of course, you can query it. You can build different views. You can filter it. You can sort it. You can export it, whatever you need to do. All right. Do you guys have any other questions about how you can set up this type of a form and use it? Now, of course, you could use this in SharePoint as well. I was just merely emphasizing this could be beneficial for an external site. This could be also a good thing to have, say, on the home page of your SharePoint environment. If you're in a large organization, this could be a way to enter support tickets, which is different than the normal support ticket form. So you could embed that in the home page. The benefit there would be you're not eating up a whole page with the form. You just have a small section of the page which has very small real estate, which you could embed into that home page. So that would be another scenario. Another question, when copying an element in the form, okay, yeah, I think that's just an observation. Yeah, depending on if there are permissions, rules, or things attached to the element that has to do with the copy, but that's a bit more of an advanced concept. But in general, it's just good to know that you can copy this. You can manipulate those. You can make different elements. In general, it's probably good to copy the elements, before applying all those different rules. But that's a good observation. All right. Do you guys have any other questions about what to do? Again, I just want to emphasize to try this out and, in fact, even be able to use the solution that I demonstrated today. You just need to install this software. If you're already an Ultimate Forms customer, of course, you're set to go. You just need to go into the settings, Infowise settings screen, and go to the command bar, go to Solution Catalog, click on Webinars. We will have it uploaded later today. You can download and install it in a local site. If you're trialing it, you can do that through the Infowise site. You can download our software. And then, of course, we do provide all kinds of resources to help you learn how to use these tools. You can go to our tutorial section, or if you want to work with a human like me, you can do instructor-led training. We have information about that as well. But these are really fantastic tools. There's all kinds of things you can do, which are well beyond the scope of our presentation today. So just a great way to have a toolkit to help you build solutions in SharePoint. All right. We're going to go ahead and move on to the next topic for those who are interested, which is SharePoint dashboards. Okay, SharePoint dashboards is an additional companion tool that you could use in addition to Ultimate Forms. Its emphasis is on visualization of data. We talked about progress bars looking good, buttons look good, that type of thing. So if you're looking to have a really eye-catching, appealing visual dashboard, this tool can help you out. Now, unlike Ultimate Forms, this is specifically just for SharePoint Online. And the cool thing is you can try it for free. So if you go to SharePointDashboards.com, just click on the green Get Started button, and you can browse through, first of all, just to see examples of different templates. So there are two licenses. The free license, which we'll talk about today, that gives you access to 20 templates, which you can use without limits or anything like that. Additional to that, there's another 82 templates which are part of the Pro license. So you do need a subscription to get those Pro templates. But before you think about that, it would be good to just get started and start trying out the tool to learn how it works and better understand how you can use this in your organization. So once you get in here, just click on the Start for Free button. You can put in your name and email address. That's all you need to do. Click sign up, and what's going to happen is you'll get login email, and at that point you can access these tools. So what I want to cover right now are the free templates, what's included in that. The one I use far and away the most is the edit button. I find that super handy. In classic SharePoint, you used to be able to have a little edit button appear, but that's not in modern SharePoint list views. Well, this allows you to have that functionality once again. In general, the way the tool works, when you go to a template, you can control everything about the appearance. You can make that button be whatever color you want. In fact, you can even change the text. You can choose different icons. Whatever you like, you can control everything about the appearance. And this just allows for an edit button, like you see right here, just to edit the form. So that's super handy. Like I say, I use that one more than any other template. I use it all the time. So that one is super handy. And then closely related to that, of course, is the view button, if you just want to show the display button. And then you can just go through this drop down and find them. The ones with the green check mark, those are the free ones. When you first call up a template, it shows a little video just demonstrating what that particular template does. So you could put a little view button next to your edit button if you like. So that's just an example of that. And we're just going to browse through some of the other free templates. Another one people really like is a checkbox where you could interact from that with the list view. That could be really handy. So that is right here. And what's cool is you can just totally make the appearance of this however you want. So it shows you, rather than having to go in the form, you can just set it up to look however you want. And this gives you a preview of what that's going to look like. So again, I can use whatever icons I want. In fact, there's loads of, these are called fabric icons. They're provided by Microsoft. And your SharePoint environment is automatically connected up with that. So I could make this look however I want. I can control what the hover color looks like. I just go to a color picker. So same concepts as with Ultimate Forms. I don't have to do any programming. I just pick from drop downs and color swatches to get whatever I want. So let's do a nice green for the true icon. So that gives me a preview. And then you do have to be signed in, and then you click a copy button, and then you just paste that in. So the way you do that, it'll actually show you. In fact, let me log in. All right, there we go. You can hit copy. It's going to give you the instructions, tells you exactly what to do. So it shows you a little picture. It says click on the column header, go to format this column, and then paste in the code. So let me come back over here and show you where that is. So I go to column settings, format the column, and it's right here. You just select it all and paste and drop it in and save, and then it's there. I don't want to overwrite what's there right now, so I'm not going to paste it in at the moment. So it'll tell you what to do. So as I say, there's 20 different templates. You can have all kinds of different buttons. Maybe you want to have a nice email button, like when somebody clicks on it next to a name, it automatically opens the email template. That could be super handy. Obviously, status indicators are used quite a lot. So if you want to have something like that. Date input, I really like this. This is one where you can have a date column with little buttons next to it to bump the date up and down automatically just right from the list view dashboard. So it just really kind of makes your SharePoint environment a lot more user-friendly. makes it more interactive, more visual, that type of thing. So it's really simple to understand, really easy to use. There's a help section if you're brand new to this that'll kind of help you get started if you want more information to understand how the formatting works, that type of thing. So I recommend starting with that. And then as you get more into it, if you're curious, of course, there's a lot more that you can do. Charting is a big aspect of that. So you can browse the other templates, even without the professional license. What's cool is you can interact with all these templates to see exactly what they do, just so you have a preview if you're considering that. So if I wanted to go into this charting template, I can actually do configuration. Even without license, I can see how this works. I can make adjustments and try it out. Just see, okay, what is this going to look like if I get this? How would it work? It doesn't require much of a commitment. For licenses for this, you only need a license just for the person who is creating the templates. You don't need them for the people that are viewing your dashboards or anything like that. And then you can just sign up for monthly subscription. So if you find that beneficial, you can just keep going with it. But the point is it's very easy to try this. You can try this with the 20 free templates. And then as far as accessing the full set, you can sign up for subscription, and then you can just cancel if you're not using it after a while. So very easy to do. Another nice thing about this is there are instructional videos that help you know what to do. I've never been a person who likes to read through a lot of documentation to explain things to me, but I'm certainly willing and able to watch a short video which tells me what to do. So when you call up the template, in this blue section at the bottom, that's where you're going to see additional instructions. And at the top of that, for most of the templates, you'll see a video tutorial. So you can just click on that. It'll open up a video tutorial with a demonstration that shows you just exactly what to do. So I really recommend taking advantage of this. So it's just a nice additional tool that you can use in SharePoint online. I think you'll find it quite handy. And the more you learn about it, and the more you use it, you'll realize there are lots and lots of very cool things that can be done. So like I say, some of the more advanced concepts and templates are really around charting. You can do things like input slider, all kinds of custom icons, lots and lots and lots of different templates. So you can browse through that for yourself just to explore, just to see if there's a particular kind of thing that you want. All right, so that's what I wanted to show you about SharePoint dashboards. Do you guys have any questions about how that works or how to get started?